will now come to order. I would like to welcome you to the public hearing where the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board will receive updates from the medical cannabis program, hear comments from the public, and discuss the schedule of a fall 2021 meeting. Pursuant to notice, this matter is being heard the 17th day of August 2021 via a WebEx events platform and is being recorded. The time is 9:04 and I am Stephanie Richmond, the chairperson for the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board. New Mexico Department of Health Assistant General Counsel Chris Woodward will be advising the department during this proceeding. This proceeding is being held in accordance with the Lynn and Aaron Compassionate Use Act, sections 26-2B-1 through 26-2B-7, NMSA 1978, and regulations at NMAC Title VII, Chapter 34, Part 2. If members of the audience have not already registered for this event, please register online so that your attendance may be noted and included with the Advisory Board's submission to the Secretary of Health. At this time, I would like to introduce each Medical Cannabis Advisory Board member to take roll call. Ariel Bowers.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ariel Bowers. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to talk about myself?
Not yet. Sorry, this is just
Okay,
for roll
okay.
call. Thank you, though.
Here.
And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. Mordecai Bronner.
He'll be here. He's just 5 minutes late, he said.
Okay, great. John Paul Dedam.
Oh, he's here, he said.
Here.
Rachel Goodman.
Hi, here.
Hi. Courtney Marquez. Alan Plymel.
I'm here.
Good morning. Devin Quinn.
Here.
Myself, and Tracy White. All right, so it seems that we have, and I'm sorry, was Mordecai able to join?
He's here, he said, but is having a hard time unmuting to say that.
Thank you.
And Stephanie, pardon me for the interruption. It does look like Tracy White is on, but under the attendee list rather than on the panelist list. So
okay.
I'm trying to get her to a panelist, but it's not. Okay. It's being fussy.
Thank you, Libby.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, so there are 7 of 9 advisory board members present, and we have established a quorum. We will now proceed with the hearing agenda. Up first was to be able to hear some updates from Tracy and to receive an introduction from Mordecai. So I will wait to hear whenever they are able to join us by
I was
audio.
able to get in, so I should be there now.
Excellent. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. Mordecai Bronner is our newest member for the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board. Welcome. Please introduce yourself to our group. Give us some information about your background and your interest in serving on the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board.
Sure. So I'm a anesthesia and interventional pain doctor. I do 4 days of pain, 1 day of anesthesia. So the medical cannabis does come in to some extent with chronic pain, a little more than the acute pain. But mainly that's the background I'm going to be bringing from a chronic pain standpoint. So that's what motivated me to get on. And my colleague, Dr. Woog, was on the board, and he recommended it as well as a good way to contribute and be part of this on the state level.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Was Tracy able to join us?
Okay, she's a panelist now, so she should be able to speak.
Excellent. Tracy, welcome. Thank you very much for joining the meeting today. I understand, can you hear me all right?
It looks like Tracy's muted.
All right. Perhaps while Tracy is working on her audio issues, we can have an introduction of the other board members. So I will call on each of you in alphabetical order. Please give us information about your training, your specialty, and why you're interested in participating on the Medical Cannabis Advisory Board. Ariel Bowers.
Hi, my name is Ariel Bowers. I am a dually board certified nurse midwife and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I'm hailing from Albuquerque, and as a midwife, I work in the Loveless Health System, and as a psych NP, I have a small private practice where I primarily work with folks who have complex trauma, and I do a lot of perinatal mental health there also. And my interest in medical cannabis is I have a strong background in complementary and alternative medicine, and am very interested in non-pharmacologic methods of treatment for, primarily trauma and psychiatric disorders. And I also work in my midwifery work. I do a fair amount of addiction medicine and work with folks who are have opioid use disorders and other use disorders. And so also I'm super interested in working with folks who have addictions and finding ways to help them and ways to help them recover.
Excellent. Thank you. I would like to introduce Jean-Paul Dedam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jean-Paul Adam. I am a family medicine doctor by training, board certified. I also am board certified in medical acupuncture. Let's see, currently I work here in Albuquerque as a hospitalist at Loveless with Optum, and I also do a clinic, a symptoms management clinic at the New Mexico Cancer Center, where I work with treating cancer patients with acupuncture and medical cannabis. So my areas of interest are obviously alternative medicine, healthcare for the underserved, and international relief medicine as well. So I think I've seen at the New Mexico Cancer Center a great deal of relief in suffering from pain, nausea, anxiety, loss of appetite. So I think it has medical cannabis has some pretty significant medical benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Goodman.
Hi, I'm Rachel Goodman. I'm a OBGYN physician here in Santa Fe, and I have been on the board for I think 6 years now, maybe almost. And I enjoy being on the board, and occasionally a specific women's health issue comes up and I can contribute in that way. But otherwise, I have a strong interest in alternative medication as well and non-pharmaceutical treatments, and really like being a part of this board.
Thank you. Alan Plymouth.
Good morning. I've had a many-year career as a pharmacist and then jumped over and went to medical school. I'm now a 2-day-a-week provider at an internal medicine clinic here in Deming. But working just 2 days a week now opens up the opportunity to broaden my interests and allows me to volunteer to be of service to the community in a different aspect. So there's lots of ignorance out there about cannabis, and I hope to help alleviate that ignorance.
Thank you. Davin Quinn.
Hi, I'm Davin Quinn, professor of psychiatry at UNM, specializing in treatment of emotional and behavioral disorders, particularly in neurologic populations. Also do research into brain recovery and repair, and I'm interested in medical cannabis and its potential opportunities and liabilities for all of the above. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Richmond. I'm a physician assistant and have practiced in New Mexico since 2005. I'm currently working as a primary care provider at an outpatient clinic at the University of New Mexico. And I am interested in medical cannabis as an adjunct and additional treatment option for patients. And I'm really excited to continue to participate on this board. All right, Tracy White.
Thanks, Stephanie. Sorry for my technical troubles. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Tracy White. I'm a board certified geriatric pharmacist. I have a number of years as a hospice provider in Las Cruces, and now work as a clinical pharmacy specialist at Memorial Medical Center in oncology and palliative care. I'm also assistant professor for the UNM College of Pharmacy, and I'm interested in, certainly from all the symptom management standpoints of medical cannabis.
Excellent, thank you very much. I also understand that you have an update for us from the New Mexico Board of Pharmacy.
I do. So in April, I had been in touch with some of the board members about a regulation that's specific to the pharmacist clinician license. And for those that aren't familiar with that, that is an advanced, kind of the designation for an advanced practice pharmacist in New Mexico. And that can come with prescriptive authority or not, depending on the specific protocol. But specifically in our regs, it did say that pharmacists could not recommendations for medical cannabis. And I challenge that because we meet all of the medical cannabis board's certifications, you know, if you have your controlled substances registration and seen as a provider. So they did take that recommendation. And in July, I hadn't gotten the final update, but it did go to the rules hearing in July. And so I believe that statement was taken out of our regs to now allow pharmacist clinicians to certify folks for medical cannabis. So.
Excellent, congratulations. Thank you for all the work that you did with that. That's good news, I appreciate it. The next order of business is to get an update from the medical cannabis program regarding their activity and progress. And I would first like to hear from Dominic Zerlo, followed by Gary French. Thank you, and you may proceed.
Thank you to the chair, Stephanie Richmond, and to all the members of the advisory board. We really appreciate your time and your being here and your help. And again, thank you to Tracy White for that change. That was something that I know from the program we are very excited about, and that's really going to be very helpful for many patients who can now use that avenue for enrollment. And Dr. Gary French will talk a little bit more about some of the enrollment processes for the program. But what I wanted to focus on this morning was a little bit about what has been happening within the program itself, especially since the change with the Cannabis Regulation Act. So as I'm sure everybody knows, during the special legislative session this past year, the legislature passed House Bill 2, otherwise known as the Cannabis Regulation Act, or the CRA, And that has made quite a few changes for our program. And so please bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to share a brief slide presentation just so that I can explain a little bit more in detail. So pardon me while I get that set up. Okay, and can people see the slides? Okay, I see some head nods, so thank you. So the Cannabis Regulation Act was signed by the governor and took effect on Tuesday, June 29th of this past year. It does allow for the Department of Health to continue to maintain the patient registry and patient services under the Lynn and Aaron Compassionate Use Act. For the Regulation and Licensing Department, the Cannabis Control Division, they will be responsible for licensing and production of cannabis. Now, in order to help with this, there were a total of 13 staff positions that transferred from the Department of Health over to the Regulation and Licensing Cannabis Control Division. And those transfers all occurred on June 29th. Now, that consisted of the 8 staff members that were already in the licensing and compliance section of the New Mexico Department of Health Medical Cannabis Program, but it also included 5 positions from the patient services side. And so one of the things that we have been doing on the patient services side is, of course, adjusting to the loss of those positions. One of the most important and sometimes controversial aspects of the new Cannabis Regulation Act for patients has been the removal of personal production licenses. The Cannabis Regulation Act eliminated the personal production licenses, including removing the definition and all references to those licenses from the Lynn and Aaron Compassionate Use Act. So starting on June 29th, it was legal through the Cannabis Regulation Act for any individual who is 21 years or older in New Mexico to be able to grow cannabis. And they can grow up to 6 mature and 6 immature plants with a total of 12 and 12 plants per household. So if there are 2 adults over the age of 21 in the household, they can essentially grow up to 12 mature plants and 12 immature. However, if there are 4 individuals over 21, the maximum amount they could still grow in that household would still be 12 and 12. Now, one thing that did also change with regard to the definition of plant is the definition of plant. Previously, we had mature plants were defined as any plant that was over 12 inches tall or higher, or had visible flowers or bud. The change on this was now it just defines immature cannabis plants as having no observable flowers or buds. So these are some of the changes that impacted the patients the most. And we do see this as very impactful on the patients. We hope that there will be some sort of education in addition to the education that we're doing as a program to inform people of this change, because this has been a serious change to the program. And up until the act actually passed, the personal production licenses were an integral part of how patients were often being able to grow their own cannabis. Now, the good news is, with regard to this, any adult over 21 years or older can do this without having to apply for an additional license. So this really did reduce some of the bureaucracy and streamline the process for individuals in New Mexico. So I'd like to switch a little bit now to the certified qualifying conditions. As all of you know, there are 28 qualifying conditions, but we really look at the top 5. And you can see in this graph, in this pie chart, that out of the 120,000, almost 121,000 patients enrolled, almost 66,000 of those are enrolled under PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. The next highest amount is under severe chronic pain, which is just under 37,000. And then the third, it is a big jump down to the third, which is cancer, which is just under 6,000. And so as you can see, out of all of the 121,000 patients that are within the program, we actually have the vast majority of them are either under post-traumatic stress disorder or severe chronic pain. One of the other aspects of the program is out of those 121,000 patients, we do have patients in every county within New Mexico. The largest being in Bernalillo County with just over 40,000 current and active patients, and the smallest amount being in Harding County with 22 current and active patients. Now, one of the things that we did, and we did this on behalf of not just the Department of Health and the Medical Cannabis Program, but also to help with RLD and determination of adult use. We had a survey conducted where they contacted just over 1,100 individuals in New Mexico. They had responses from 136 zip codes in New Mexico and asked them a variety of questions with regard to cannabis and cannabis use. Out of that survey, it showed that approximately the users that were actually contacted through this reported using an average of 26 grams of cannabis per month. And one of the more important aspects of this for the program, for the medical cannabis program, was that 88% of the cannabis patients that were contacted through this reported that the dispensaries they visited were adequately stocked. We'd like to see that at 100%. And so we continue to work towards some of those goals. One of the other things that they also found is they found that after adjusting for the median household income, the price per gram was actually 6% lower when relative to the rest of the United States. And so those are some items that have come before this board in the past and some concerns. And one of the things, just to be clear, is this was the second of several surveys that have actually been conducted. The department already plans on conducting another survey throughout this next year, which will include focus groups with patients, telephone surveys, and also online surveys, so that we can continue to find out additional information about how patients are affected, not only as we move forward with the medical program, but also what changes occur when adult use sales start and when those begin. Now, the current statute does state that adult use sales need to start by April 1st of 2022, but it is possible that those sales will start earlier than that. So that's all that I have as far as for the presentation. Does anybody have any questions regarding that?
I sent you a question in the chat from Jean-Paul.
Oh, thank you, Jean-Paul. So as many people may also know, we have had some changes and turnovers as far as the leadership at the Department of Health. And we do have a new acting secretary, Dr. David Scrace, and we have submitted those recommendations to him. He is new in the position, so he has not yet made decisions with regard to those. As soon as we do have those, we will pass them on to all of the board members.
Thank you very much for those updates. Did you have something else that you were going to say?
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, and I appreciate all of you being here. The one other thing I did want to mention, we have been recruiting for our Public Health and Safety Advisory Committee. And so if there are individuals who are interested in that or in applying for it, we are currently taking applications. And those can be sent to the program's main email, which is simply medical.cannabis@state.us or .nm.us. Again, medical.cannabis@state.nm.us. And I'll put that in the chat. So thank you very much. I appreciate you and your time.
Thank you, Dominic. All right, now we will hear from Gary French regarding some updates about the application process.
Yes, I'm very excited to introduce the online patient portal. I think this is going to revolutionize the application process for our patients. We're a big state with lots of rural areas, and so I think this is going to provide patients across the state an opportunity to use this online portal and apply for the program. And not only that, this portal does have some content that I think is really going to help our patients from a medical sense. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Let me move. There we go. Okay, so here we have a search engine, all right? And Google Chrome does work best for the application. And I'm going to type in, well, I'm going to go right here. This is my shortcut. But mcp-patient-tracking.nmhealth.org is what one would type in the search engine to get to the landing page for the online portal. And this is a connection for both patients and providers. Both will use the same landing page to initiate the registration and then the application process. So here is the landing page for the portal. And as you can see here, there are some tabs for different instruction sets. And I highly recommend that providers do look at the medical provider instruction sets because there are a number of different applications and all with their nuance. And again, the patient application process will begin with the provider, and then the patient application goes to the patient themselves to complete. So the providers, you're the linchpin to getting this done and getting this done correctly. But before anybody can use the online portal, one must, of course, create an account. I think we've all done this. We've been on Amazon before, and this is, I think, simpler. So here's first name, last name, date of birth. Now, this is a box here that one would check if you have a card. Now, for the medical providers, if you do not have a card and you're simply doing this to certify applications, I would maybe keep, if you do have a card, you could probably keep that separate or keep all of those together. But if you click that, and this is, again, most important for returning patients, you want to enter the barcode there from your card so that you can link to your previous information, your previous sales, purchases, and account. So again, providers probably won't need to do that all the time. You submit, and then you'll get an email that asks you to confirm your registration, and then you're good to log in. In fact, I think when you do confirm with that email, it will take you straight to the login page. So once you've created the account, you can then log in. And so here, all you need to do is enter an email, enter the password that you generated, and log in. If you forgot your password, there's that option there as well. So this is a test doctor that I generated so that I could share with you how the provider would complete the provider application and then start on the patient applications. So again, real easy, log in. And here, this takes you to what I call the account homepage. You can sort of ignore this portion right here. This will appear after the provider's completed the application. This test provider has done that already, and that's where you see this information here. But this is where you go, is to the application drop down, and here's the medical provider application. This is what you all would fill out as a provider if you were certifying. This, as you can see, has already been filled out. And this is the information that's contained for the provider. One important thing here is the New Mexico Controlled Substance License Number. This does have to be active and valid. We do verify that. And when we do verify that, and the provider's in good standing with the program, we do send you an approval email letting you know that the provider is now good to certify patients using the online portal. Okay, so again, this provider is already completed. So actually, what we're going to do here is we are going to do a patient annual verification. Okay, actually, let me go back real fast. As you can see here, there's the patient application, and this is going to be for a new applicant or a recertification for a patient that needs a card reprinted or who's, for a card that's about to expire. So I want to share that with you that new patients in the 3-year recert to get the card reprinted are going to use the patient application, but for the annual verification, we use this one here. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have a test patient, and I really want to share with you what is probably my favorite feature of this whole online portal. So here, the patient annual verification, here's a definition. If you need a refresher, continue. And so I'm going to type in here the patient ID. So if we ever have a patient that's already been in the program, this is something that you're going to want to get from them if you are doing a recertification or an annual verification. And this again is a make-believe patient. But I'm going to show you one other cool feature here is the match function. All right, it's not doing it, so I'll type in the patient's name. So this again, I'm just going to go ahead and do this the long rate, typing in the email, which is very, very important because this is the integral part here is the email. The patient email has to be correct. Otherwise, the patient will never get the invitation email to finish off their portion of the application. So this is the patient. The mailing address can be added by the patient at a later time, but the provider then will need to choose a diagnosis, upload some medical notes. We'll upload this. There we go. And then sign and date and submit. So the provider has just completed the annual verification. And again, it's not quite at 100% because the patient needs to finish the rest of it. So the provider clicks out and the provider is then good to go. Here's some notifications here. That's the log out as the little closed door. So I'm out of the system. I'm going to return to the landing page. I'm going to log in as though I'm that patient that we just signed up. And this patient already has applied last year, so they have a patient application already. And here we go. Here's what the feature I wanted to share is when a patient logs in to their account page, they can click here on a sales history and they can see all the purchases that they've made. And then in the bottom corner here, they can look at all the sales report. This is a test patient again, so they don't have any legitimate sales. But that's what a patient can do. They can follow all their sales, see where they purchased a product. If they found a product that was really useful to them, they can continue to purchase that item. So that is what the patient will see. And it's going to take a little time here before that annual verification shows up. I'm going to go ahead and log out. But what would happen is the patient on that home page would see the annual verification pop up and they click annual verification and then they are in the application to complete it. So that is the online portal. Again, one new development with the Cannabis Regulation Act is that the medical provider does not have to have an in-person visit with the patient before utilizing telemedicine. If they have both the audio and visual component, they can start utilizing telemedicine from the first appointment. And so I do think that the online portal is going to enable that aspect of the provider-patient interaction to take place. And then again, it cuts down on time as well. You know, previously we'd have to get original signatures from both the patient and from the provider on the same piece of paper, and that oftentimes required a lot of mailing. We will always accept paper applications because, again, not everybody has a computer or a cell phone, but the electronic portal will provide those hospice patients or patients confined to home or patients in a rural area the option to at least sign up and then do their annual verification all online. And again, hopefully that will, you know, with you know, the current situation with COVID, I think that this was a real serendipitous advance for our program to have this portal now available to us. So any further questions, please reach out. I answer them all the time, every day, and I'm really excited for this. So we welcome you all to use it, and that's all I have to share. Any questions? I'm sure there'll be some, so we're here if you need us. Stephanie, I'll turn the time back to you.
Thank you very much for all of the work done on that. Looks great. I look forward to utilizing it for patients. Thank you. Any other updates from the medical cannabis program before we move on?
Not at this time, but if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. I have a question then for the program. The next portion of our agenda is for public comment. Did we have any registrants for public comments for today's meeting?
We currently have 4 individuals who would like to give public comment.
Okay, great. So individuals who have pre-registered for the meeting and have requested to make a public comment will be able to comment first and should limit their speaking time to 3 minutes. If you've not previously requested to make a public comment, please click on the raised hand icon on your computer or dial #3 if you're calling in by phone. And I ask for assistance from the medical cannabis program with calling on the speakers and for monitoring their time. For those of you unable to make a public comment during the meeting, the public comment period will be open for 48 hours after the meeting. Please send all public comments to the following web address: medical.cannabis@state.nm.us. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, the public comment period has begun. Your name will be called and you will be unmuted. Please give your comments and then you will be muted after your 3 minutes are finished. I will give you a 30-second reminder and then after your final 30 seconds, you will be muted again. Our first speaker is Tamara Morales. So I don't see that she is listed on our attendance list, so I'm going to skip her for now. Jason Barker, I'm going to unmute you and your comment period may begin. Go ahead, Jason.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank everyone for the opportunity for the public comment. I would encourage each and every one of the advisory board members to review the Cannabis Regulation Act, Chapter 4, Section 23. Section 23 of the legalization law states, medical cannabis provisions unaffected. Nothing in the Cannabis Regulation Act shall be construed to limit a privilege or right of a qualified patient, a primary caregiver, or a reciprocal participating patient in the medical cannabis program. So I would challenge Dominic's presentation on the ending of the PPL license. That is something that is part of the patient registry, and this advisory board should reinstate the patient's personal production license immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Our next speaker is Erica Rowland. Erica, I'm going to unmute you and you may begin.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, and thank you for hearing our comments today. It is my understanding that the Cannabis Regulation Act was specifically designed and also requested by the governor to not adversely or negatively affect the medical cannabis program. A rather robust program, don't you think? Consisting of over 100,000 patients, the New Mexico Medical Cannabis Program and the patient personal production licenses have had those legs chopped out from underneath them. As a PPL holder for the last 8 years and a caregiver cooperative pioneer, I was months away from finishing my production grounds in January when I went to Bernalillo County to get a homeowner's permit to correctly execute the project. Through investigation and basically interrogation with the county permitting office, the inspector assumed I wanted to, quote, grow commercial cannabis and lie about it. Now I'm here attempting to get a micro license and have to hire an architect, an engineer, and apply for commercial building permits that may not be allowed next to a residence. Please consider the PPLs that were thrown by the wayside and replaced by anyone can grow 6 plants. Yet even still, over and under regulations and controls and a lack of communication between authorities and municipalities is making me and my patients without medicine. As I stare close to $10,000 in drawings and permitting fees in the face to permit a grow that already exists for under 100 plants, I wonder what happened to the patients program that we all worked so hard to build. And why isn't anyone talking about how we are all about to not have any medicine? Well, at least any that we can afford. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Our next speaker, Larry Love. Larry, I'm going to unmute you.
I'm Larry. Hi, I'm Larry Love. I've been a patient for the last 12 or 13 years. I was the 343rd patient registered here, and we have had a great program. Looking at what has happened in other states, these programs are going to disappear. One thing is I'm a little disappointed that there's no new conditions being presented today. I think this is usually part of the advisory board, so I'm guessing that no one presented any. I still think we need a medical program here. Again, in writing HB2, and the governor promised that this wouldn't affect our medical program, but it has in many ways. I hope that the public can work together with the current medical cannabis program. I really don't understand what you guys are doing as far as anything except for registering patients. That's what I understand your jobs are right now. So I hope we can get back and we can preserve this program. The PPLs have changed, so I guess the promise from the governor and everybody else wasn't kept. So I hope that there will be more meetings. I hope this program will continue in the future, and I hope it's not a rest in peace, because we need this program. There are many, many people that use this as medicine. I'm Larry Love, and I'm out.
Our next speaker is Tara Bernheisel. Tara, I'm going to unmute you and we'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm Tara, and I wanted to say something about the personal production licenses, and it would be very beneficial for us that use this as medicine. I have something where a long time ago. I got in the program in 2010, and that was after I was overdosed off of a medication. I didn't overdose myself, but my levels got extremely high. And after that, I was sent to a medical cannabis doctor to get my card and told that I would never be able to take pills again. I didn't understand that, but now I do. And my understanding of it is that I get allergic to medications. So it's really hard to afford cannabis on disability. So I would like to keep the PPLs the way we have them. That would be really nice, where we could have a caregiver grow for us and we could grow more plants. And my limit right now, like monthly, I have increased units because I need it. And then also in the medical cannabis industry, when we're referring to medical, I think that we should have rules like ethical rules and stuff, and the people selling the medicine or the people providing the cards for the medicine should be held to the same standards as any other medical professional out there. So that's all I have to say. But I really would like to keep the PPL the way we had it. It would help us that can't afford the medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Our next speaker is Marlex Consultations. And your 3 minutes has begun.
Hello, thank you. This is Alex Jones of Marlex Consultations. I'm here to advocate for the patients. I work and have worked one-on-one with patients for many years throughout the medical cannabis program. And it is just that, it's a medical cannabis program. As the program changes to a more recreational program, much like every other state that has done this, gone from medical to recreational, medical pays the price, medical changes, the program changes. And although Governor Lujan Grisham has had promised that the medical program wouldn't change, to touch on what Larry Love said, the medical program has changed insofar as just that the PPLs have gone away. There's other changes too, but if we're gonna start changing the medical program, why don't we go ahead and change it more so to be medical? As the producers move towards a recreational production and allot a certain percentage towards medical, the production techniques and methodologies will remain the same. They'll remain consistent. There will be no difference between the cultivation of medical and recreational, and that leaves medical patients vulnerable, as there is no list of banned substances or nutrients or pesticides, whatever you may use to put on the cannabis. There's no list of banned substances in our state, as there is in more mature markets such as California and Oregon. I propose that the Medical Cannabis Advisory Committee consider this evolution of our program, and we create a medical, truly medical program, so our patients are not swept aside. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Chad Lozano. Chad, go ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, yes, my name is Chad Lozano. I'm the Price Secretary of the New Mexico Medical Cannabis Patients Advocacy Alliance. I've actually been involved in this program for a very long time. I was actually on SM 105. It was the task force that was tasked with coming up with ideas and everything that actually led into SB 406 or SM 4, I forget the actual, but it's 406 is the Medical Cannabis Changes Act that was a few years ago. So I was actually one of the people that wanted to get rid of the PPL on the sense that there was no reason for us to keep it. And the fact that people want to bring it back blows my mind, for the simple fact that that causes a lot of confusion with law enforcement. You then have people that have to sign up for a card. The only thing that we need to do is either change the rule or the law. There's no point in us forcing someone to carry a card. The card doesn't protect you, it's the law. So if we just change the law to say, if you have a medical cannabis card, you're allowed this and this and this and to do this, versus us having to go through this whole process again. We have to ask for written permission from your landlord. You have to pay $30 or prove that you're living 200% under the income median, and then you have to send in a application to a different address, and then wait for that card to be processed on top of that. So many people ran into issues during COVID, or if we have another pandemic, they had to wait for their card that the DOH pretty much just said, screw it, we're not going to worry about it, your card's good. So you run into those issues too. So instead of us trying to go through a whole process of trying to sign up for a card and all this, just put the protections in there in the law or the rules. So that way we can kind of get around the issue that we have with the PPL. Yes, I agree, patients do need protections, but we don't need to be forced to once again go through this whole process of signing up for a card. We're literally the only state in the nation that did that, and it caused more issues than not. There was patients who actually would get bribed by their landlord to say, well, if you want to grow here, you got to give me an ounce a month, or if you want to grow here, you got to pay me extra. And that's illegal, but I mean, how much does a patient really have to afford a lawyer to sue their landlord over something like that? If you guys bring back the PPL, you're going to screw over the patients more than you're going to help. And I'm just afraid that a lot of people don't really understand the repercussions that'll come with forcing people to get an actual card. All we need is a change in the law or the
You have 30
rules to
seconds
protect the
left.
patients. Okay, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was our last person to have their hand up or to register prior to the event. If there are any individuals who would like to give a last minute comment, please utilize the raise hand function or dial #3 if you have called in.
All right, it doesn't seem like there are any other public comments at this time. The public comment time is also available for 48 hours after today's meeting, and you can send the comments to the web address. Again, it's medical.cannabis@state.nm.us. All right. Thank you all very much for participating today and for all of the work that you do for our patients and with medical cannabis. At this time, I would like to propose that the members of the board present today discuss dates for our next meeting sometime this fall. I suggest that we consider sometime between mid-November through December 10. Seems that Tuesdays work best for this group. So I motion to have an open floor discussion at this time to discuss upcoming meeting dates. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ariel. All right, so other potential dates to consider would be November 9, 16, 30, or December 10. I'm not bound to a Tuesday. If there are other days that you all would prefer, I'm really open to that.
December's better for me, possible.
The December 7th? Yeah, great.
This is Davin. I agree. December would be best.
I also would prefer December. This is John Paul Bedon.
Excellent.
This is Alan. December 7th would be perfect.
Excellent.
This is Mordecai Bronner. That works for me too.
Okay.
Works
how
for me,
about Tracy?
Stephanie. Yep.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you very much. So I motion that our next meeting will be held on December 7th. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you very much. All right, our next meeting will occur on December 7, 2021. There will be public posting 1 month prior. It is now 9:57 on August 17, 2021, and I motion that the meeting is adjourned.
I'll second.
Thank you all very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you on December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank you, everyone.